The vast majority of entrepreneurs and people who start businesses do it on willpower, and things go wrong from there. You have to have want power. You have to have a strategy, and you have to have a desire, an inner desire that you want to do it. From there comes the discipline.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. I hope you're doing really well. I am so proud to be your host and so honored to have the privilege to sit with incredible people helping to educate you and find your way forward in your business with your books and your ventures. And on today's call, I've got somebody very special lined up for you, and his name's Mr. Paul Owen. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here. It's a beginning of a different journey to educate everybody about what we've been doing for the past 30 years.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to take a deep dive into everything that you're doing. You're an author, you're an educator, and we're going to be talking about your book, Fixing Stupid, which contains the ingredients needed to unlock your inner genius. Now, prior to the call, you and I spent some time talking about all the different elements that go into the work that you're doing, Paul. And I'm wondering, first of all, if we could just learn a little bit about you by asking where you're calling in from today.
We're on the East Coast, a little bit outside of DC, about 60 miles out of the DC, west of DC. Mm-hmm. And been here for the past 15, 20 years. Before that, big time in Silicon Valley, too much time in Silicon Valley. But I have a engineering background. I've graduated from law school too, but I graduated at an older age. Mm-hmm. Barely get in a good school because I was like too old. You know, they just want buffs and biffs in their schools. I wasn't a buff and a biff, but I got in anyway. But did the tech thing for a long time, started a number of different companies in technology. One of my claim to fame is I invented the talking video slot machines that are around the world that everybody kind of knows about. But other than that, I've been doing law for the last 30 years, and we've discovered some amazing things when we've done it. It's kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah, well, look, we're going to have the opportunity to unpack all of the wonderful work you've done. Now, you've authored dozens, many different styles of books along the way, and I'd love to talk a little bit about that in a moment. But you also graduated from the Navy, is that correct?
Yeah, Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, yes.
Now, tell me something about discipline. You would know a lot about discipline, given that that's your background. How important is discipline in the line of work that you do?
It's more of a difference between focusing on. A lot of people focus on willpower, yep. Okay, and they, oh geez, if you just try hard enough, it's going to work, and you just punch your way through, and that doesn't really work right. Okay, you get your stamina and your discipline to do things when you have want power. I want this. You don't force yourself to do it through willpower, because willpower doesn't last very long. It dissipates very quickly, and this is a well-known psychological fact. Yet the vast majority of entrepreneurs and people who start businesses do it on willpower, and things go wrong from there. You have to have want power. You have to have a strategy, and you have to have a desire, an inner desire that you want to do it. From there comes the discipline. Okay, that becomes the discipline, because every day when you wake up, you have this desire to do something. You have this desire to complete something, and from there, the discipline of actually doing the work on a daily basis, even though no one's cracking the whip on you. That's what happens.
That's what happens. I often talk about who in our lives as we're growing up, in our, I guess, the early formative years, who is in our lives that influence us to become or take the direction that we have in life. Was there anybody like that in your life, Paul?
Yeah, I went to a military academy for summer camp. It's a place called Valley Forge Military Academy. And I went there in summer camp, and there was a counselor that explained to me the concept of being proud of what you've done. And the concept was really simple. If there's the best band in the world, but you're the last guy, the last musician that ever got in that band, and you just squeaked by and got in it, you should be proud as hell that you did it, because you're in the best band in the world, even though you're the weakest link in the chain. And that person influenced me a lot. It taught me that, don't be scared of stuff, just do it. If you're getting in with a group of people that are way above you, don't be scared about it. Just jump in there. And as long as you're in the group, you made it. You're there. Okay. So you can actually learn things from there. We call that vampire learning. You can learn a lot from a lot of those people in those areas if you get in with the right groups of people.
Yeah, vampire learning. That's a great analogy, great way to put it. Now, I'm wondering again, because of your background, what's a day look like for you? Are you a bit of an early riser? Do you like to get up? And when are you the most productive?
I don't. We work from home. Everybody in all of our companies work from home, mainly because you don't have to spend the time. You waste your time. Time's the only thing you've got. Okay. If you waste it, that's too bad. You can't get it back. So the key there is to be able to use your time to the best. So if you don't have to get up and get all dressed up and ready for work and get in your car and drive somewhere and suffer through traffic or all those, things about getting to work, that's very important. So that extra hour, that extra 2 hours every day that you don't do that, that's time for productivity. That's time for getting things done. So there's a routine. The most important thing for getting out of the willpower and getting to want power is having your daily routine. Okay. So every day when I wake up, I deal with the orders that we have for the books that we have, get all that done. And then I always write 2 or 3 case briefs. I always write 2 or 3 case briefs, at which point I'm usually done around 10:30 or 11, and then I just handle the rest of the business issues from the rest of the day on.
Yeah, wow. Look, I've seen a lot of your websites. You've got an involvement in more than just one, and I'd love to talk about sharing relevant website links later on in the show. Now, you again, we've touched on this. You've written hundreds of different law books. Did writing always come naturally to you, do you think, or is it something you've had to learn?
No way, no way. I had to reach up to touch bottom. I came from an engineering background, and it was hard. But you just keep at it, and eventually you get really good at it. I'm a little bit too good at it now. I can spot things too fast and read, like if it's about the law, I can spot things wrong with a case in nanoseconds. It's like, no, this is bad. This is not good law. And here's the reason why. And even though this was written by a judge in the appellate court or a judge in the Supreme Court, this is why it's wrong. Okay. And it's easy to spot the stuff when you actually know what you're talking about. The sad part about the law is 95 to 98% of the people that talk about the law know nothing about it. That's the sad part. And the people who don't know anything about it, they suffer for that ignorance. So.
Yeah, and there's certainly a lot to be learned from those who have already walked the path before you. And I'd love to learn a bit more about that part of your process. But most of your students, you've mentioned in your write-up here, that they all have very much the same trouble. Now, explain to us what you're talking about.
Okay, and everybody has this trouble, and it's based upon modern education. Okay, the focus of modern education is real simple today. They want you to learn theories only, nothing else. Just learn a theory, okay? And after you learn the theory, we'll replace the educator with your family. So let's take God, take your family, and move them off to the side. And then we'll replace the government and the educational institution with your family. And then we want you to learn all our theories, okay? And that's what they do today. And it's so sad because to be intelligent, to be smart, you have to know facts. You have to be fact-centric. You have to know lots and lots and lots of facts to actually develop real theories that work and are tested by the facts. Now, what happens today is somebody from Harvard or some big school like Yale, I said, well, I went to Harvard and I have a degree in ancient, Phoenician history after the fall of the Roman Empire. And it's like, great, you have a PhD in that. But today I'm going to tell you how you have to use the right pronouns when you're addressing everybody in class. That's the stuff they throw on you. And the sad part about it is these are all theories. And the minute they implement the theory, it almost always fails. Very rarely is successful. And when it fails, this genius that came up with the theory just walks out the door and says, well, the people that implemented it didn't implement it right. So, and some of the theories they implement on you are really sad. They're called communism and socialism and even sometimes capitalism. They implement these theories on you. And when they don't work, they just blame it on, well, it was the person who implemented it. It was their fault. The next time they'll get it right. We'll get the right person. And it never happens because they're all theories. And it's a sad fact. So you're sitting there and we recognized immediately the common scenario every single law student comes to, they have the same story. After a while it gets old, And they go, well, I was sitting and reading my torts book, and I'm supposed to read the first 50 pages on my torts book. I say, good. And I started reading, and then we say, well, let me tell you what happened. You started reading, and 20 or 30 pages in, you kind of woke up and you wondered what it was that you read over the past 20 or 30 pages. You have no idea what you read, no recollection, you don't understand it. It's as though you were reading, but nothing was registering. And that's what we discovered was the problem. And the solution to the problem is simple, but it took us 20, 30 years to figure it out. And that's why we wrote the book, Fixing Stupid. It describes the entire process we went through on how you fix this. And what it comes down to is the average person doesn't even understand how their brain works, okay? So, and when you look at how your brain works, there's only, you remember the show, the Beverly Hillbillies, on TV back in the 60s and stuff? They had this show into the 70s, and Jethro Bodine was the nephew or something, and he was going to become a brain surgeon, And it's like, you don't need to know how the brain works to know how to manipulate it. You do if you're going to be a brain surgeon, but if you're in everyday life, you only need to know 3 things about your brain, okay? And we labeled them real simple, and we'll explain why the simple labeling is in a few seconds, but there's only 3 states your mind goes into during the day. It goes into Godzilla, okay? It goes into emo, which is emotional, and it goes into the neocortex zone. Now, Godzilla, as you can imagine, is survival, okay? The basic instinct of survival, your brain functions in the Godzilla level automatically. Your brain functions in the emo level, the emotional level, automatically, because that's the social level. That's how you get things done in the social world that you're in, okay? And those 2 things are kind of on automatic. The area where you communicate, like right now we're communicating and we're in what's called the neocortex zone, okay? That's where you communicate, that's where you learn. And the problem is students don't know how to trick their mind into going in the neocortex zone. That's all we do. It's so simple. It's disgustingly simple. And the reasons why it worked in the past are very interesting. The reasons why it doesn't work today are disgusting. And the idea is once you learn how to trick your mind to be in the neocortex zone, your ability to learn goes up exponentially, like 200-300%. And when that happens, you get these students in law school. This is the common thing. It's just, I get 1,000 students a year that say this, well, I was getting C pluses and B minuses and I didn't understand anything and I was reading my assignments and my mind was drifting all over the place and then I did your stuff and now I'm getting all A's. Now the prof uses my exam as the one that here's the model answer for how to get an A in this class, and all of a sudden they know everything, okay? And we teach you how to trick your mind. Now, you don't become smarter. Your IQ isn't going to increase, and the IQ is irrelevant to begin with, but your ability to comprehend, your ability and speed of learning goes up dramatically. So in an hour, you can accomplish 3.5 times what the average person can accomplish. So that's incredible, but you know what? It's easy to do.
Is this where we're actually remapping our neuro pathways? Is that part of what's happening here?
No. See, in the 20s, in the 1920s, everywhere across the world in the 1920s, education was vastly superior than it is today. Doesn't matter what country you were in, United States, Europe, Australia, it doesn't matter. The education levels were vastly superior. There was a number of reasons for that, okay? The first is there was plenty of exercise, okay? Smart people, contrary to the Hollywood myths where the smart people are all nerds, smart people are fit people, okay? They're not nerds. They're physically fit. They're capable of doing all kinds of sports. There's a physical element to this that has been ignored for a long time, since in the 60s and 70s. They started ignoring it. So when you look at how to trick your mind into this, we teach students how to use that dissipating power, their willpower, okay? And what happens is we say, force yourself to do something for 20 minutes, which almost anybody can do. After the 20 minutes is up and a little alarm goes off, get up and exercise. And I'm talking about vicious exercise, not little pansy stuff. For older people, it's okay, go out and mow the lawn or take a walk or wash your car or something. But for young people, I'm talking about when you're done exercising, you're sucking wind, okay? You exercise for 5 to 10 minutes, you reset your clock, you force yourself to study for another 20, and that's all the process is. That's the whole book. That's all that Fixing Stupid's about. If you want to learn the rest of the stuff, cool. If you want to get the book, get the book. There's a lot more to it. So what happens, though, is the student can force themselves to study in the neocortex zone, so they're absorbing massive amounts of information in this 20 minutes. When they're done, the clock goes off, they get up, they exercise, that resets their mind to trick it again to go into the neocortex zone. And an interesting thing happens. You do this for 2 or 3 weeks, you'll notice when your little alarm goes off and says your 20 minutes is up and you need to exercise, you'll notice you're so deep in studying, you didn't even realize you had an alarm on. At which point, all you do is for the next time, instead of setting your alarm for 20 minutes, you set it for 25. When you hit 25 and you start, hitting over 25 minutes, you set it for 30 minutes. 2 or 3 months later, you'll be doing what we call 55-10, which is you'll be in the neocortex zone at will, okay, for 50 minutes at a time. You get up, you do your 5 to 10 minute exercises, and then you start the process again. That's how you study. Once you do that, that doubles your ability to learn, your speed, efficiency to learn. It doubles it. So whereas before you were what we call a 1.0 learner, now you can learn twice as much in the same amount of time.
See, this is reminds me of a conversation I once had about, your physical body, if you don't move it, you lose it. Now, to me, this seems like such a simple formula that it's ridiculous how it could be overlooked for so many years. Now, is this why you called it Fixing Stupid?
Yes. Okay. But see, that's now you brought up the key to all this. It's not that you know how to do this, because see, once you do the force yourself into the neocortex zone with a clock and exercise and you get into that routine and you move yourself up to 50 minutes at a time instead of 20, you're in there. You know what you do to get it to from the 2.0 level to the 3.0 level? You memorize things. You memorize the stuff before you read it during the day. you put things in your permanent memory about what you're going to be studying that night when you're doing your neocortex study. So you take 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there during the day, and you memorize all kinds of things. Like one of the things my law students memorize is consideration. And consideration is the bargain for exchange that induces current performance, offers detriment, and is binding. It can't be pre-existing, but it can be illusory or nominal, surrendering or bearing a legal right. Now that's the base definition of consideration. Now, what's interesting about this and about lawyers is, see, you memorize those facts, which is the definition of consideration. That's the base. There's a lot more, okay? And I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. But once you memorize that, you turn all those facts into questions. You say to the facts, you go, was there a bargain for exchange? Was there an inducement? Okay. Was there detriment? You see? And you turn all the questions into facts. And the amazing thing about law school, and the scam of law school, is once you ask the questions, what we call Joe Sixpack, you know, the guy on the street that you just, you know, is working the roof job or something. You say, hey, can you read this fact pattern for a minute or two? And then after you're done reading that, can you answer some questions for me? So if I ask the questions for Joe Sixpack, he can answer 90% of them correctly, legally correct, if I ask the questions. The sad part is if you ask a lawyer or a judge or a law student the same questions, they won't be able to ask all the questions. If there's 27 things about offer you need to ask questions for, they'll ask 13 of them. And the even worse part is when they ask them, they'll get only 80 to 90% of them right when they ask them. So they're missing half the questions, and they get 80 to 90% right when they do ask and answer the questions. And that's why lawyers are so damn pathetic. Most lawyers that you run into in real life, they don't know their ass from the hole in the ground.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this conversation, Paul. I had a question with all of this. What I'm taking from this is that it's not about IQ. It's not about your inherent level of intelligence. You can almost ask the most simplest person on the street and they could get it right. This is about breaking up and, again, using the physical body. I really need to make sure that the audience understands from a fundamental level how simple this actually is, because I'm a busy-brained person, I believe, and I think all of the time. I'm always thinking, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. What am I going to do today? How am I going to serve? All these things. Is this about, I guess, compartmentalizing the way we think?
No, it's about learning how to learn. Now, once you realize your true learning potential, and I mislabel them because I say, well, most people are 1.0 learners today. Well, those are the people who don't know how to learn, okay? When you become a 3.0 or a 3.5 learner, what happens is you actually know how to learn now. You actually know how to manipulate your brain so that you can learn things. Now, how much better will your life be when you know 3 times as much information, or when it takes you 1/3 the time to learn what you need to learn versus what you want to learn? Now, the reason you're always thinking 4 and 5 steps ahead, okay, and your brain's always running on the strategies on how you're going to do things, is because you're not living through willpower, you're living through want power. You have a desire to do something and to accomplish it, and you're making the strategy during the day or during the month or during the year on how to accomplish that. That's why you think your brain is so busy, but that's what want power does to you. That's what's forcing you to do the way you live, the way you make decisions. That's what want power does to you. So you're already running on want power.
Yeah, I always make it a rule for me to every day do cross trainer, and I always at that time for 50 minutes to an hour solidly, I'm always listening to an audio book, and I find that I can retain that information. Is there validity in trying to learn whilst you're exercising, do you think?
There's nothing wrong with it, okay? There's certain types of everybody learns differently, okay? Some people like the audio visual, Some people like the studying. Some people learn by examples. Others learn by vampire learning. Like, give me a mentor and I'll just suck his blood, learn what that person knows. So that's to each individual person. Okay, but exercise is extraordinarily important because it allows you to snap back into the neocortex zone and force yourself to go in the neocortex zone. Because see, while you're trying to learn, Godzilla and emo, the other two parts of the brain I talked about, they're screwing with you. It's like, Godzilla, it's like, this isn't about survival. This has got nothing to do with survival. I'm just going to dismiss this. Okay, it's not important. And emo says, well, where's the party? I want to be watching Tube or partying or going to the club or having fun with my mates and my buds. It's like, I don't want to be here doing this, and those are the forces in your mind, the internal influences that are screwing you. That's what screws most people. Okay. And you've got a strategy already. That means you're dealing with want power. That forces emo and Godzilla into their place a little bit, not perfectly, just a little bit. Okay. If you learn the trick of staying in the neocortex zone to do most of your strategizing and thinking, you'll notice a remarkable increase in about 2-3 months.
I'm being a little bit selfish here. I'm thinking to myself as a bit of a case study, maybe, that if let's just talk for those poor souls who are sedentary in their life, they're just missing out on a real life, essentially, and learning the ability to learn, for one. But if I'm in a workplace and I'm working for somebody and I don't have the opportunity to go into this space through exercise, how do I, if I'm keen to learn using your techniques, how do I find that extra time to exercise? Or can you just do it end today, start a day?
We are now consulting with companies. About 30% of my day is, how do you get your employees to learn better and to function better and make better decisions because they have more facts to deal with and they can function so much better in the workplace. There is no excuse for what I just said. It just doesn't work. We don't know of a way to make it work. We have a number of companies that have done this. They started out with the 20 minutes of hard work and 5-10 minutes of exercise. That's how you do it. And eventually, most of the people, they're so deep in the work, when you ask them to exercise, they're just, what happened? I was thinking about these problems here, or talking to this customer, I got to do this. You have to do it. But once the people get there, it's a totally different situation. And to be honest, okay, if you're working for yourself, you're really working, okay? But if you're working for somebody else, you're not, okay? The average person works 30 minutes out of an hour. The average software engineer works 3 hours a day, but they claim they work 8. We know those for facts because we're in the software business big time. And our software engineers don't work 3 hours a day. They actually work 8. But they're exercising through the day as they work. So most of them are on 55-10. So the hour is perfect because you spend 50 minutes working and you have 10-minute exercise and break or for whatever. Now, one of the important things we learn too is no distractions while you're in the neocortex zone learning. No drinking, no talking on the phone, none of that. That's all out. No watching anything, no playing video games, no checking your social media or any of that. That's all out. All that stuff is crap. That'll just rot your mind. Social media sends you right into Godzilla and emo, and it's a waste of time. It's so sad. So many young people spend all their time on social media, and they're just pissing their lives away.
Tell me something. Is this how do you meet a client or a student where they are right now in terms of their mindset towards your techniques? And can you audit this and say, hey, look, I know where you're at just by your physical body, maybe?
Easily testing. The testing is all custom, but it's easily done. Okay. We have tests that we give the law students that can tell what level of learning they're at. All right, whether they're only 2 or 1.5 or 2.0 or a 3.0 and up. So we have sophisticated little tests that give this person information and say, well, take 2 hours and tell me how much of this you know. And we test them at the end of 2 hours, and we can tell what level of learning they are by the score they get on the test. And those are all law related. It's easy to tell whether a person knows something. And this is the disgusting test that we give to law students. Name a Tony Law School that you hear about all the time on TV. Oh, everybody goes to Harvard Law School and they're so smart and this and that. That's a freaking myth, okay? And how do we know that? Well, geez, we stand outside their test rooms, okay? After their 1L class is done taking their contracts exam, we stand outside their test rooms and say, hey, we'll give you $200 if you sit down and take our test. Right after they walk out of the contracts exam they just took at Harvard University. We'll say, we'll give you $200 to take our test. And you know what our test is? Tell me everything you know about contract law. And you know what? You know what the answers we get? Best score we ever got was 43%.
You gotta be joking.
No, I'm not joking. They knew 43% of what they were supposed to know about contract law, yet these jackasses, and sorry for the word, claim that they're the gods and geniuses of the legal world. They're so intelligent, yet they know 43% of what they know about contract law, and they're going to get a Juris Doctor. And after they're done with their contract course, they're not going to do any more education on contract law. They'll just learn all kinds of other types of law, allegedly. But the answer is real simple. Tell me everything you know about this. Now, I go to an attorney who is really good on DNA, and I say, tell me everything you know about DNA, and I'll give you $1,000, just everything you know, in 3 hours. After 3 hours, I'll get an earful from the guy saying, that's not enough time. I know so much more. I can barely even write down everything I know. It just keeps going and going and going and going. That's how you know whether you have a good attorney or not. It's just that simple. It's like, how much do you know about this?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a prerequisite conversation that you have to have no matter what sort of professional you're dealing with.
You do it in a stealth way. You with the attorney, I advise many corporate clients that are looking for attorneys to say, just register the number of questions the attorney asks you about the problem. And if it doesn't go into the hundreds of questions almost immediately, the guy's an idiot.
Yeah, and you can see how deep and how wide this topic would go, and I think there's going to be a lot of excited people to knowing on this call, knowing that within 10 minutes they can learn the methods from you and your book, and in a few months they go ahead and they can effectively change their lives. Now, with all that being said, Paul, one of the most important parts of this call is that I want this book. Where am I going to find it?
Well, you can find it on, that's the part of the problem. Paper is in a deep trouble in the United States. It's hard to get paper. It's hard to get covers for books and things. But you can get a Kindle version at Kindle. Just look for Fixing Stupid Book, and you should be able to find it. It's called Fixing Stupid, is the name of the book. So it's Kindle. It's only $10. And then direct, you can go to fixingstupid.org. And we'll send you what we call a blank cover GBC printed 8.5 by 11 version of the book from fixingstupid.org for $15. And then when paper comes in supply again in the U.S., we'll send you a traditional, really nice, multicolored book cover and a book that you can put on the shelf or hand to somebody else. But that's where you get that stuff, okay? But what happens? You want to know what happens to people, okay? When after they learn this new methodology, they maximize their learning ability, okay? Their speed and learning ability. They know thousands of facts, tens of thousands of facts, and all of a sudden they start putting things together. Well, we have chapter 12 in the book, which talks about some amazing things, like how do you want to pay off the national debt? Well, that's real simple. I can pay off the U.S. national debt in 10 minutes. All I've got to do is, you're familiar with NASA, right? National Aeronautical Space Administration. All I've got to do is form nasapublic.com or whatever you want to call it, and I'll take NASA public. And I'll raise $800 billion from folks in Australia and Japan and India and US and UK and Germany and all kinds of places around the world. And I'll use that $800 billion as a venture capital company to invest in space exploration. And within less than 30 years, I'll be mining the asteroids and I'll return hundreds of trillions of dollars to the investors, which is more than enough if NASA keeps 20% of the equity to pay off the national debt. Even if it keeps rising, it doesn't matter. So who else have thought of something like that? A 3.45 learner thought of that. He says, let's just do this. We could pay off the national debt in the United States if we just take NASA public. That's all we got to do. And all we have to do is raise $800 billion to do it. Now, here's the really crazy one. And take this one down. Venturefinancial.org. There's been something that's happening in the United States and around the world. You're a businessman, right? What's the one thing you don't do? You don't piss off your customers. Am I correct? Like you have men and women as customers, right? Maybe 50% of each or whatever, right? But you don't say to the women, well, I don't do business with women. You know how they are, you know? And you just denigrate them and you call them deplorables and you just piss off half your customers. How long do you think you'll stay in business if you do that?
It's obvious. You wouldn't stay in business.
Right. You wouldn't stay in business as soon as someone else comes along and supplies what you've got. Now, $25 trillion in current equity value in the United States, these companies that total $25 trillion has pissed off half their customers. Half. Think about that for a second. It's like, how stupid can you be? I don't care if you're Google or Facebook or whatever it is you do. How do you think you can piss off half your customers just because you own 80% of the search market because you're Google? And well, if you don't use me, screw you, who else are you going to use? Well, the interesting part about that is there's a movement's underway already to put these people down permanently. I'm sure you've heard of Truth Social. Trump's out there thinking in his business mind, I'll start this company and we'll take down Twitter. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Okay, who cares? All right. One of our members or one of our partners, who is a 3.2 learner, said, hey, you know, people invest wrong. It's 100%. Everything they do is wrong in their investments. He said, well, why is that? He says, well, the people that make the most money are the venture capital people. They invest in Google, and for 20 or 30 or 40 million dollars, they buy $60 billion in assets for a successful company. Why don't the standard investments include the venture capital side? We said, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you should have the venture capital, and then they invest in that, and then the companies that succeed get real big, and the chances are that you'll make a ton of money, lots of money. Then somebody said, another person that was like a 3.0 learner said, well, wait a second, that's wrong. Because couldn't you have an investment company where a good number of the customers are also shareholders? Because see, you always need customers to make a business successful. So why don't we put the venture capital and all the customers under one umbrella and then have them buy shares with something stupid like you have credit cards, right? Do you have any cashback credit cards?
No.
Okay. Well, if you had a cashback credit card, Citibank or somebody like that, every time you spend $100, they're going to give you $1.50 back. Well, that's kind of like a low level of investment. So they put together a company, these crazy guys, they call it venturefinancial.org, and they put this company together, and the goal was to get 80 million shareholders who have a debit or a credit card that they just spend like they regularly spend without thinking about anything, just buy whatever you buy, and you'll buy shares in the venture capital firm. Well, if the person earns an average of $1,000 a week and spends $500 on their credit card, and you have 80 million of these people, that's $850 million a week in venture capital to invest.
Yeah.
850 million.
Now, what I'm taking from all of this is that this is a little bit of lateral thinking and actually understanding and embracing the way that you're doing this. And I'm already thinking, well, I'm going to get my own hands on this book because I think I need to read it, as do many, so that we can get away from our old style of learning or our inability to learn. So with all that being said, we're going to send you to, where is it? Is it again? It's fixingstupid.org.
Fixingstupid.org, or you can go to Kindle, okay, which is Amazon, and search for Fixing Stupid Book. That seems to be the way to find it on Amazon. Or you can go to venturefinancial.org. But the venturefinancial.org thing, we started it literally 2 days ago. They got the website up. They have 6,000 people already registered with 140 affiliates. And like I said, it's going to have, when it gets to what it's supposed to be, it'll have 850 million a week in venture capital. That's 5 times what Sand Hill Road, which is the venture capital of the world.
I would like to invite everybody who is on this call today to certainly go and check out both Fixing Stupid and any other information that we've covered off on the show today, because I think there's certainly a lot of potential in what Paul has shared with us today. And with all that being said, Paul, I've really enjoyed this call. You have so much to share, so much knowledge, so many opportunities, and I'm sure a lot of people on this show today are going to be contacting you shortly. So thanks again for joining me on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.